Well, hello there, YouTube, and welcome to a cat stream all over again. It's like we do it every other day. This TV thing that we do on YouTube. I'm obviously your host, the Common Sense Guy, and I am with the Ogre tonight.
Hello.
How are we all doing today? And how is everybody doing in the chat?
I was a little groggy, but I'm picking up right now. Right before we went on, in fact, you got a hold of me about an hour ago. I made a couple lamb chops. I worked just 5 hours straight. It's pretty sunny out, and it was inside and outside. And then finally stopped and had some food. So that's kicking in. My body is producing cortisol, and right now my ATP is going to my cells, and the neutrons are firing, the electrons are firing.
I'm glad somebody actually has their wits about them today. I'm not doing so well today. I've been having back problems all day. My head's been spinning. I've been trying to concentrate on doing a particular video that I was doing today, and because I haven't got bloody my old video editor, I have to use something completely different. It took me fucking ages to actually work out what I was doing and where I was doing it, so that was always fun. The simple fact that I don't actually have Photo fucking Shop anymore is really kicking me in the teeth at the minute. Because my computer decided it was a great idea to have an update, and then with that update, it completely corrupted my Windows files, meaning that I lost my video editor that I paid for, which now I can't find again because Windows doesn't fucking do it anymore. I've lost my Photoshop because I don't have the license for it anymore because I deleted the email. So now I don't have my video editor and I don't have my photo editor. It's going great, everyone. What a time to come back.
No, that's what I hate is software. If it was just more across the board, I'm all for competition, but damn it, man. I mean, I'm going through that now when we were trying to talk earlier. So this is just a call out. Hit Discord. I'm going to probably shoot this up a couple more times. I'm not going to, I don't really tell people what to do. I would ask to not make flat out, oh my goodness, I better not even say it, common sense, because if I tell people what not to do, they're going to do it.
They're going to do it.
I would just say, do whatever you want, whatever you deem appropriate, but we need to shoot a meme, a good meme. Whoever would win would be who Common Sense Guy ultimately says is wins the cake, but I'll have a vote too. But much like the Negro of old, I will only count as 2/3 of a man. Call me Spot.
Yes, call me fucking Spot. That's got to be the fucking name of that. Somebody's got to put a dog's head on him going underneath, call me Spot.
Well, and see, I'm just giving, so hopefully the people that will be doing the memeing will have been involved in that stream, and they'll know exactly what I was talking about when I said that. Maybe we'll get some good memes out of it. So check Discord. Lord Quinn will steer you toward it, and we'll see if I can't get another 5 or 6 other pictures. And look, man, I don't even know if this disclaimer is necessary, but very quickly, Common Sense Guy, I don't give a fuck. We've had our my face pasted on Rain Man with, I mean, people have done shit. We don't, I mean, it's just funny. So we're not asking anybody or doing anything to somebody, something that we wouldn't do and haven't had done to our person. So it's all fun and games until you actually disrespect people on in a debate. And then it goes to the whole, that Dyson. Did you watch the Monk debate? I don't want to get too far off. I know we're going to do a short show today, probably.
No, that's fine. No, I did watch the Monk debate. I think the black guy kind of, I can't remember his name, so that's why.
Michael Dyson.
Mr. Dyson, yes. Mr. Hoover, Mr. Snorter Hoover, sucker. Yeah, he did really well, to the point of going, "You're an evil white man."
Angry, yes, angry. Angry, just calling right out on based on race. And I had to say that I kind of missed it too. I did a short video on it, and someone commented, their name slipping my mind. But the comment was, in all of this, really the number one, the guy that came out looking the best was Stephen Fry. And I watched it again today. I was doing some sedentary work here, wrapping some soap. While I was doing that, I listened to the debate again. And I'll tell you, that's just the truth. I mean, Stephen Fry is intelligent, man. He knows what he wants to say and how to say it, how to come across. And I mean, the guy Dyson there, he even attacked Michelle and Dyson were both attackers. They were both attacked Dr. Peterson. Did you notice that no one called him Doctor? Even the moderator was calling him Jordan. I mean, give me a break.
The absolute fucking level of disrespect in that field is to make sure that people don't realize he's actually a doctor in fucking psychology. He has enough authority to talk about everything that he's talking about because it's in psychology.
That killed me. It was bad enough when the others on the panel as interlocutors were were referring to him as his first name. I thought that was a little disrespectful. But when the moderator did, I mean, come on, common sense. I really thought to myself, what the hell now? You should be saying Dr. Peterson, just to let everyone know. And I do believe that it was, isn't it Dr. Dyson? I think it is. I'd have to look. He is a professor and teaches some kind of gender studies or intersectional racism in the feminist realm, some kind of hoodoo like that. Real witch doctor shit. No, I'm not trying to be racist because he's black. I'm just it is a real hoodoo shit. Yeah, I just wanted to know. I don't think we really had a chance to talk much about that. I just got my attention drawn to it yesterday. And boy, it was fascinating to me. I couldn't believe the level of
from one side and then the level of vitriol from the other.
Yeah, and the level of patience that was being shown by Fry and Peterson was amazing to me, man. I mean, Dr. Peterson got a little more irritated, but Steve and Fry, cool as an iceberg.
My favorite bit from that debate is when Stephen Fry looks at everybody just after doing a little bit of a speech, and he goes, "I'm more of a social justice warrior than you guys."
Yes,
he loved that.
He called Dyson a snake oil salesman in a very slick way. I thought that was pretty good. Yep. A huckster and a snake oil salesman. He was like this religious huckstering.
Yep.
I was like, wow, that's good one, boy. And the way he said it, he didn't point to him either. It was a kind of if the shoe fits, wear it kind of thing. Yes. Everyone knew who he was talking about, including Mr. Dyson. But the Mrs. Goldsworthy, what was her name? Goldsplat, Michelle there. Goldsmith. I found myself often thinking, well, she's obviously Jewish, so she should be intelligent. But what is she doing there?
There's levels of intelligence, though, isn't there? There's levels of intelligence to the point of where you have Dr. Peterson that is an actual clinical psychologist, so he's got a doctorate in it. He knows what he's fucking talking about. You've got Stephen Fry that's written books, written playwrights, written fucking shit tons, and is just an intelligent guy in general. And then you have Mr. Dyson, who's the inventor of a who. Wait, sorry, wrong one. Then you have Mr. Dyson that just does some sort of fucking studies somewhere to do with feminism. And then you have somebody that writes a feminist column in a local newspaper.
Yeah. Well, and I think she for the New Yorker or some such. She was.
Yeah, it's her local.
Yeah, she was trying to give some of her. I felt like reasons for being there. I don't know how else to say it, because she did seem to be. I don't know. She was trying. There was 2 times where it didn't happen to anyone else. There was 2 times where the moderator was like, yes, because Mr. Fry said that in his opening speech. Why don't we bring him in? And another time he's like, yes, since you were just mentioning Dr. Peterson, why don't we bring him in? Because she was she was starting to flounder. And man, on that topic, she was the one that wrote the social justice, you call it whatever we call it, progress. She should have had a lot of material and should have been ready. Another thing that I really found interesting was how even their premise, they didn't go to their premise. They went all over. Angry white man. Dr. Peterson said forced monogamy. I actually went and looked that back up. It's not, he was in no way talking about the state. That's where they mislead you. What he meant by forced monogamy was having we had forced monogamy in this country 200 years ago. Because if you were running around on your wife, everybody shamed you. You couldn't just do that. If you run around your husband, same thing. Everyone shamed you. And that's what he meant. and this woman was trying to act like he was trying to create some kind of, Fourth Reich police state where you, I don't know, man. It was so disingenuous.
Well, the thing is with her is I always found that whenever she come up with a statement, it was a case of, oh, you're racist. No. Oh, you're trying to force monogamy. No. You're trying to do this. No, I haven't said any of this. And it's just what Jordan Peterson generally has to deal with on a day-to-day basis, where people are accusing him of doing things that he just isn't doing. And he's like, no, this is what I said. And then they don't have fuck all to say about it afterwards.
Yeah, and I got that story, Lord Quinn. Since I have that story, I got that already. If you want to get into that at any time, I thought some of these
after this one, we can get into it after this one because that's one of the biggest stories of the night. If we don't get through the rest of them, then they don't matter.
Okay, yeah, and a couple of these tie in. So let me pop that right on up here then. Yeah, this comes from Lord Quinn via Discord. Via
network.
Let's see, it's via the mirror via Condios. So it says, oops, sorry, we can't find the page you request. I might have to have you send that again to me, Lord Quinn. Or I tell you what, I can also send it to you, Common Sense, because sometimes it won't let me. No, it's saying 404 because I don't know. Some of the time, sometimes it's you all can open stuff up over there, but I can't hear.
So well, that's why I've asked Mr. Quinn, or if Mr. RPR wouldn't mind sending it to me in a Twitter message, then I'd actually be able to open it up because I can't use Discord while I'm on a computer.
Maybe that'll do it there on the side. I don't know.
I'll have a quick look, see if I can do something with it. Should be all right. No, I think it's because they've actually got rid of the story themselves.
I'm just gonna freaking put it right into Google and see what happens. That goes to the mirror. Yep,
yeah,
oops,
I can get through to the website. I can get through to the website, to the mirror, but then it says, oops, sorry, we can't find the page you requested. It might be a case that they've actually decided.
I found another one though. This is from him arrested while filming outside grooming trial in Leeds. Yes, this is from the Evening Standard. Isn't that funny how they just take that stuff down, Common Sense? I mean, it's like as soon as there's some news that's true and real and they just don't want it out, they just suddenly it was there and it's gone. Poof. Who makes the mirror?
I know Lauren Southern's doing a piece on it at the minute. Well, not at the minute, but she was about an hour ago. She was doing a live stream on it. So I know that she was covering the story. So hopefully a lot of people are going to know what's going on.
And I got to say very quickly, as much as I like Laura Southern, I really do appreciate her doing what she should be doing. And that's over there speaking up. I mean, they are a satellite of the UK. They are a part of you all. I don't think much of her when she comes over here and starts spouting off about Trump and stuff. And I'm a Trump supporter. But what the fuck business is it of hers? She got nothing to do with it. She's Canadian. She's a foreigner. But I am glad to see her there with Dank, helping Tommy Robinson. It'd be nice if she helped the folks out in Australia and her other brothers and sisters there. I don't know. That might have sounded like asshole. I wasn't trying to Common Sense, and I hope you understand what I meant. But
I don't care what you meant. That's the difference, and that's the beauty of us. I don't care.
Yes. So I'll accept their cookies. So this story comes to us via Quinn, via Condios, via the Dusty Trail. This is the Evening Standard. Tommy Robinson arrested while filming outside grooming trial in Leeds. And there's Tommy looking rather dapper and very English profile, man. Looks like they should carve a statue out of him. I
do absolutely love the way that if you look at the copper's face looking into Tommy Robinson's eyes, he's actually pulling away from Tommy Robinson, even though he's basically being detained.
They know who this guy is. Not one of these fellas would want to scrap with him, I don't think. And who knows? Maybe each one of them would kick his ass. I know one thing. You can see by many videos where he's actually physically been attacked. Mr. Robinson is not going to lay down and let anybody just kick him.
No, but I can see at least 5, maybe 6 police officers in that picture.
Yeah.
And at least 3 of them have tasers. I'm sorry, but if you've got 3 tasers against you, you're probably going down and out.
Yeah. He can't. Yeah, he's done now. But it's just funny. So let's get into the story here and see what happened to Mr. Robinson, one of my heroes. English Defense League founder Tommy Robinson.
I love the way they do that. He's completely and utterly denounced the English Defence League by saying that it's too racist for him, and that's the reason why he left. And he denounced everything that they're doing from now on. But yet they still try to associate him with it, because when he first did it, all it was a case of making sure that English people were English, as in civic nationalism, not in to do with colour, but in to make sure that they integrated into the culture. Now it's been turned into something completely and utterly racist, and they keep on interlocking him with it, when he literally, I think about 4 or 5 years ago, has decided that he wasn't going to be even part of it or even going to be mentioned with it. He left. Stop putting him together with it.
Yeah. So they also call him alt-right, and I don't believe he's alt-right. But English Defense League founder Tommy Robinson claimed he was, I should put alleged or former, whatever, once claimed he was arrested for breach of peace outside courthouse in Leeds. The right-wing, there it is, the right-wing activist was streaming a Facebook Live video outside Leeds Crown Court, where a grooming gang trial is reportedly underway on Friday morning.
Mm-hmm.
Robinson, real name Stephen Lennon, I did not know that, can be seen being led towards the back of a police van and searched, and footage posted on his Facebook page. He can be heard saying, "I'm being arrested?" ? I am being arrested. I'm causing a breach of peace. I'm being arrested for breaching the peace. And again, I do believe all these were questions. He's not saying, I am. He's probably wondering, what's going on. This is what's happening. And then he says, "You've all watched this. Can someone get me a solicitor?" What does this mean? This is free speech.
What does that mean?
Excuse me. What does that mean? This is free speech. Look at this. This is where we're at.
True.
And, says officers can be seen leading Mr. Robinson into the back of the police van while reading him his rights. West Yorkshire Police declined comment.
See, this whole thing just seems a complete and utter fuck up, because it's a case of you've got Tommy Robinson that's doing the stream, trying to tell a story as a journalist, as a journalist in integrity. He now works for the Rebel Media in London now. So it's not like he's doing independent stuff on his own like he used to. He's working for a media company now. Whether it's reputable is up to you guys, but it is a media company. So it does have credentials. And he's working for them, doing his little Facebook posts and everything else like that. But because he's going to a fucking grooming gangs trial that's in Leeds that nobody's really talked about, there's not even been in the newspapers that much, if at all. I haven't been able to find anything to do with Leeds at all. Sorry to say on that one. I wish I had done before this. I would have done a fucking video on it. But he's gone to this place and he's now doing a video to try and report on what's going on the grooming gang situation, everything else like that. He's literally being carted away. He's literally being silenced. And he is literally having his voice, his freedom of expression, his freedom of speech taken away, and his freedom of press as well, mind you, don't forget. All taken away because he's reporting on the stuff that some politically correct people think might be offensive to other people.
Yep.
Well, what about the poor little girls that got raped? What about them?
They
don't they deserve to have their story told?
They don't care about if they cared about the girls, common sense, it wouldn't be going on. There'd be no need for Tommy to go and film this. It would have been on national news. These people would have been stamped out like the vermin they are. But it makes me think of in the old days, 300 years ago in the shipyards, they would pretend that they didn't have problems with rats. And they would try to ignore it instead of really trying to focus on eradicating them. And what ended up happening, you had the Black Plague swept in from that. This is the same kind of thing. They've ignored it to the point where, well, it's not just Telford and Leeds either, is it? It's all over.
There's 52 other cities that I know of that I can't get any credit for, but it's in at least 52. I think last time I counted, there's around 72 to 76.
I mean, my goodness, man, at that point, when you have 52 cities, hamlets, towns, whatever they may be, places where people dwell, where they have grooming, I mean, and then the language is always what gets me common sense, because they say things like this, like when the guy burnt the 2 girls and their mom and then told the dad to watch what he said. Yeah. You remember we covered that story.
Yes.
They called the girl his girlfriend. She was 14.
Groomed. They were groomed. The definition of grooming. They were forced to believe, and this is how the grooming gangs seem to work in every operation. They try to find the girls as their girlfriends and make them believe that they're boyfriends, and they pass them around saying that's what girlfriends and boyfriends do. And as we all fucking know, that's not the way that fucking life is. We don't do that.
Well, but we
never will.
Well, but they're told in their religion that that's okay. That A, it's okay if they lie to the non-believer, and B, it's okay if they use the non-believer's woman as whores, as receptacles for their, unspent sexual, desires and cravings,
or just to rape them like animals because they're not part of the religion, so they're not human.
I got to say this. When we think about the Catholic Church, everybody's like, the Catholic Church is so evil because the priest. Anytime you have a religious order bringing down heavenly mandates on how people conduct themselves sexually, and I mean, get involved. Just leave it. They should just leave it alone, because when you don't, this is what happens. This is, to me, there's not much difference between the grooming gangs and the priests, the plethora of the multiplicity of priests.
Well, I think there's something a bit. I think there is a hell of a lot of a difference. And
well, hang on. Hear me out just very quickly then, because think about it, common sense. These boys are a lot of times altar boys. A lot of times they go to Catholic school. They look up to this man. This guy is, he's brung him under his wing, taught him, and then in the end said, "Hey, this is just what we do. This is what God approves." In a lot of cases, that's what they told him too, brother. This is what God approves of. So yes, I understand there is a difference. But this is what happens when you get religion involved, telling people how they can do things. It always seems to run awry.
There's a massive difference. The reason why I say there's a massive difference. Now, obviously, before we go into this, I'm not conflating the two. I'm not saying that one is worse than the other. But what I'm saying is, if you were to take all emotion and all the ideas of what's happened, and you just look at it from a logical point of view, you probably have, I don't know, let's say 1,000 to 2,000 priests at this moment in time that have probably done something. Probably. Maybe even 5,000. Let's go that high. If you were to add to the point of the actual people that follow the religion, where it probably goes into the millions or at least hundreds of thousands.
Oh, I see where you're going. But now let's think about this, though, common sense, because in fact, finish your point, because I want everybody to understand what you're saying. I do, but let them all understand. So in other words, it's the percentage of people doing it compared to
the acceptance. No, it's the acceptance of doing it. It's the fact that the religion itself pushes the fact that you can go and rape these people. Where the Catholic Church, yes, it does happen, but it's not predicated. It's not in the religion to go and rape little boys. Yes, it's prevalent in the religion, but it's not accepted in it.
I'd say that it's caused by just in a different way. Just in a different way. One is caused by rote. One is caused by assumption. One is caused by exegesis. One is caused by eisegesis. So you have the exegesis being used by the Catholic Church, where it's the outworking of something that they do, even though they say you shouldn't do it, and then the converse with it. But you know what? I just, to me, whatever it is, when you have a cover-up and it's seen in the public, that is time to quit it, common sense. And to a large degree, the Catholic Church has. The new people that come up and start doing this same thing, they're outed a lot more often. They've cleaned up their act. Until that happens in England, man, your girls are going to continue to be used and abused by these boys from Syria. That a lot of them boys look like they got 10 years on you and I.
Yeah,
I've seen a great meme that said, "Help this young man escape oppression and get a college education so he can grow up to be somebody." And it shows a shot of a muzzy that looks like he's got to be 65 years old. I'm sorry. I mean, I know maybe I should make fun of it, but it's just, I got to laugh at this stuff where you cry, I
understand that, mate. I do understand that. I don't know. These things are here to fucking try us. You have the idea of the Muslim rape gangs in themselves. The reason why they're so abhorrent and so the things that we need to get rid of the most, that they are the most prevalent thing that we need to get rid of the most at this moment in time, to stop the fact of them predicating the ideas that we are kafir, that we are irrelevant to them and they can do what they want to us. We need to stop that. We need to make sure that we actually produce something to make them realize that we're not kafir. And if you're in our country, taking up our laws and taking up our benefits because you don't want to work, because you don't want to learn the language, maybe it's a good idea for you to actually respect the kafir in the place where you are. Because I'm pretty sure that in the Bible it says to take up upon the law of the land, and then the Syria law. I'm pretty sure, but then again, you know, I'm a kafir. I don't really read the Quran at all. But
I don't read it much either. I've checked on some verses, like when I've heard Saitan or Steven Crowder, probably the two, believe it or not, that I've heard most refute them.
mm-hmm.
I mean, Saitan's doing that satire. You've seen probably the cartoons that he does. And while he's talking, he's like, "Oi, I'm going to go up to the cave." And, you know, he's bitching out his wife, telling her to fuck off. And she's telling me stupid. It's quoting the scriptures that go with what he's talking about. I mean, he's just putting it in English slang, like a ghetto style, Muzzy slang. And I tell you what, man, how are you going to run your life? I want to respect that, because they could say the same thing about a sheep farmer that supposedly seen a burning bush and then the whole 9 yards. And I'm talking about Moses. And then whatever. And I believe in the Abrahamic religion. I just don't apply it in the same way. Common sense. I don't. If there's catch a girl in my town prostituting, I don't want to stone her. I don't want to, throw 8-kilo stones at her head until she's dead. I don't want to do that. I don't want anybody to be put out in the wilderness and left to die of exposure if they accidentally see their mother naked. That's also in Deuteronomy, because I mean these are things that are in Deuteronomy and in the Old Testament of the Bible. But what's the difference? I don't see any Christians doing that. Common sense. Now, knowing that they're there.
The reason why is because Christianity, I'm sure you're already more aware, because obviously you've your past and everything, the divinity and all that. But it's the fact that the Christian faith in itself went through a reformation, same as the Jewish faith went some form of reformation. Not a great deal of reformation, but it did go through one. But Islam hasn't. Though they say it hasn't changed since the conception, and that's just force. It hasn't changed since around about 1400s. It hasn't changed since then, so it's still as barbaric as the 1400s are.
I think the later part of the Ottoman Empire, I think they were starting to kick into a real awakening that way. They weren't theocracy, and that's when the problems really come in.
Oh, when you talk about the Ottoman Empire, sorry, I've got a little bit of a fucking story that I was going to do for Monday. But I thought I'll quickly send it in here so everybody can understand where I'm coming from, especially with tomorrow's video. The Turkish Prime Minister, so to speak, has Muadwan, or whatever his name is, has come out and said that if Syria, is it Syria? Yeah, if Syria come out and say that they want to prove that the Armenian genocide actually happened, then they're going to attack them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, and let's remember that the Armenian, when that happened, that was at the tail end of the Ottoman Empire. When a large empire is collapsing, you have people that are left that are, oh man, they see the end of it. Common sense.
I know.
And bad things do happen.
I'm
not
sorry,
making an excuse for it.
It wasn't Syria. It was Israel.
Israel said if they what?
No. Turkey said that Turkey warns that Israel will harm itself if it recognizes the Armenian genocide.
Turkey can pound sand. What are they going to do? Get in line with all the rest of them?
I'll show you tomorrow.
There's not much they're going to do to Israel. I'm just hoping. I mean, I've been keeping.
There's a lot that they're going to do, and there's a lot that they're planning.
Well, let them do it. I've been keeping my eye on the news as close as I can, and I don't see him talking a lot right now about. Oh man! Just as I popped it up to look, Harvey Weinstein has been cuffed and stuffed, man, arraigned on rape.
Yeah, another 2 charges.
And criminal sexual conduct. but he's flat out been arraigned on rape. That's not good, dude. This guy could go to prison for the rest of his life.
Well, if he actually did it, I have no fucking sympathy for him.
Look, now, if he held somebody down and took sex from the common sense, I mean, if somebody's fighting and he's just like, yes, I would want the same thing to happen to him if somebody held you or me down and took sex from us, because that would be a horrible. But unless it's that, I don't like I want to know the nomenclature, what that means. And the hell, we don't have to go off here. Fuck Harvey Weinstein and all these assholes. I mean, the problem is, all right, just my 2 cents very quickly. The girls undoubtedly didn't have a problem with it at the time. Maybe not these rape allegations. I don't know. Like I said, it would depend upon the situation, what they mean for rape. But for the most part, it's just girls that give them a blowjob because they wanted the part. Did not give a shit then. But then once they got famous, say, well, I care now. So I don't, man. It makes me a little sick.
I've sent you something in the side chat, Ogre. I don't want you to bring it up.
Oh, okay.
Because it's a video that I'm doing for tomorrow.
You just stop me on time.
Yeah, it's bringing it up. Literally just for you and for people to understand that I'm just quickly going to go over it. Don't want to pull it up because I go through it in depth in the video. There is talk of the OIC, which is the Organization of Islam and something else community. Well, they have over 50-something countries or authorities that are coming together to make a 5.2 million man army that is going to be funded to the tune of 172 to 174 billion US dollars. And Turkey is going to be at the forefront of this. And this is going to be named aptly the Army of Islam. Yeah. Video on that to come fucking tomorrow, if I can ever get it actually downloaded properly.
Best of luck with that. I mean, there's so many examples, but one of my favorites is the Golan Heights War, the tank battle that sealed the end, where there was a nice weekend and everybody was supposed to be on I believe it was a religious holiday. I pulled it up, but I'm not going to go all into it. Let me make a long story short. You ever seen the movie Rambo or read the book by Morale, Rambo?
I've watched the films. I haven't read the book.
So if you remember on the very first one, Rambo has slaughtered Teasel's men as they came up to get him. He's killed them. Some with spikes in their guts, and he's messed them all up. Yeah. Now he's off to hide, and he tells them, leave me alone. Quit pushing. I want to go away. In the book, he wanted to go to Mexico. He don't talk to anybody either. He's talking in his head. But make a long story short, Troutman, Teasel tells Troutman, we're going after him. We got a bunch of men. And Troutman said, well, you better bring a lot of body bags. And that's my suggestion to Turkey and to these poor, misguided Muslims. All 5 million of them. Is if they're going to take 5 million and go against, they even mention it that's nearly eclipses the entire population of the Jewish state.
It does. It does eclipse the whole entire population.
Yeah, I know that. I actually think there's 7.5 million. There's not very many. 8.7. Sorry. There's very few Jews in that country. I'll give you that. I don't know what to tell you, man. It doesn't matter if I have all the heart in the world and I get 20 of my bros together and we have all the heart in the world and we go against one guy with an AR-15 and magazines loaded up all in front of him and 2 extra ones loaded up and ready to go in case there's a malfunction. If we're not on him at the moment, see what I mean? I think that's the point where we're at. Rocks against tanks, brother.
Yeah, no, I go through that in the video that I've done for tomorrow. It's not the fact that they're just planning to throw bodies at them. They've got planes, they've got tanks, they've got 500 attack helicopters. Right. They're planning something a hell of a lot. And I tried to allude to in the video about the mosques that have had so many gun caches in the rest of European countries as well, where if this army of Islam does take place and does happen, then surely we already have sleeper cells that are already hidden in our own countries, especially in places like Germany, France, Spain, and the UK. No, I'll leave out Sweden because they're fucked already. They don't even, they're almost in a state of national emergency already.
No,
So
I can't wait to see your video on this because so you believe that this is going to be their first strike to spread out and just take over Europe?
yes.
Okay. I mean, I'm not saying that's impossible. They may try. I'm just going to say again that they would definitely be.
I'm with you. I hope against all hope that Israel, because the thing is, if you look at it from a logical point of view, which I go through this in the video as well, if anybody does stupidly attack Israel, then they're going to have America to deal with, first of all. And then as soon as America come involved into that, then the United Nations are going to have to get involved. And let's be honest, who are they going to pick? Turkey or fucking United States to be on the side of? I know what side I'm going to be on. I'm going to be on the US's side. So I would have thought that most people would be a case of, well, if we attack them, we're pretty much fucked. So I do go through that in a video where the logical point would be don't attack fucking Israel.
I think the best thing that could happen for humanity right now, as crazy as this may sound, would be for there to be all-out war between the Muslims and the non-Muslims right now. I mean, all-out war, because bad blood seems to build up between these two peoples. You can go back in the recent history, and by recent, I mean the last 1,000 years, and you can see, oh yeah, Jerusalem was taken, it went back, it was taken. The Moors and the Muslims, the Muslim hordes, they invaded Europe. I mean, people don't, I know a lot of people don't know that common sense. And I know that you and I don't because we're ignorant of history. I almost forgot that we don't fucking know history at all.
Exactly.
So maybe I'm making that up.
I'm spot.
Hashtag I'm spot. Yeah, I can't wait to, hopefully Voice of One gets a hold of that. He's a good memer, or Moz, or one of our memers, and makes a mockery of that. Funny enough, is memes is not very much of a memer. Yeah, so I think that to flesh out, I think of The Godfather #1, where
that brought me flashbacks back to fucking Angel Stump Snow Brother #1.
Well, Paulie, they're talking, and Paulie's talking to Sonny and Michael, and they was like, you know, and the one, because I can't, who is it? It's it doesn't matter. Another one of the gangsters is saying how, you know, it's fucking war and it sucks. And Paulie's like, no, not really. It's not that bad, because every once in a while, about every 10 years, you got to get rid of the bad blood. You have to go and fight and get rid of the bad blood. And that's kind of what I think about this. I mean, get some of the bad blood out. And once again, we need to test some of our new weapons. We need to make sure that they work. And I'm thinking that oh man, that's the only bad thing. Common sense is the reality of it is that so many people would die.
Yeah, that is the bad thing. But I would say that it would bring to a forefront, and governments wouldn't be able to hide. See, this is the reason why I tried to explain in the actual video that I've done. If there is a war, as you've just quite rightly just tried to explain, if there is a war, then governments can't hide behind of saying that they're peaceful, that Turkey is a peaceful Muslim nation, that this other nation is a peaceful nation. Because you have to remember that in this group, there's going to be group funding this Army of Islam is going to be funded by at least 54 different nations, independent nations. One would assume at least 99% of them, as it says in the citation that I provide, that 99% of them are Muslim-controlled nations. Now, if this actually occurs and this actually happens, I'm not saying it should do, I'm not saying I want it to, but if it does occur and it does happen, there is no way any westernized government can then come out and say that the idea of Islam, the idea of Muslims fighting, it just doesn't happen. They're a peaceful religion. It is a peaceful religion. You got a fucking army of Islam that's being directed by Turkey. You can't fucking argue that.
Hey man, I hope this is not fake. I got it from RPR via Discord, but somebody's tweeting out that Tommy Robinson got 13 months. I don't know how they could give him time like that.
Not that quick. Fucking hell. They're not even a trial. It can't be that quick.
Says somebody Robertson of Rebel, what's that? Carolyn Robertson of Rebel Media has just reported from Crown Court Leeds on Twitter. Tommy Robinson has just been given a 13-month prison sentence starting now for his live
That
stream
can't
today.
happen. That can't happen. He can't get a
I don't know how in the fucking how in the world could it?
Can't happen. If it's happened, it's completely and utter.
Oh no! I see. It says Tommy was subject to a suspended sentence from an earlier matter.
Oh fuck!
This has probably also been invoked.
Oh fuck!
He's gonna die in jail. Who knows? They have been known for taking him and putting him in some places where they know he's.
I would say that if he goes into a particular prison, then he's probably going to die. Any prison in London, and he will probably die. Any prison in Birmingham, he will probably die.
Can't even imagine. Y'all talk, not you all. I shouldn't do that because there's many wise Englishmen that I know, but it seems like a lot of the country talks about, oh, can't let somebody have a revolver. And yes, I'm going right to the gun thing. But let's throw this guy in prison where we know he's going to die, and our society is okay with that. That seems a little off to me. Just can't have it both ways either. You got to pick one or the other.
To me, it's a case of I've argued this with my dad loads of times, where I've always been saying that we need guns, not so that we can go out and fucking kill people. We need guns so that we can defend our household. And my dad's argument is always the case of, I've lived in this house for over 40 to 50 years. I've never had a burglary. I've never had this. I've never had that. But it's not the case if you never do. It's a case if you do. You've got something that's there to fucking protect yourself. It's not a case that you need to go out and absolutely shoot everybody that you don't like, or having an argument and you're going to shoot them. It's not a case of that. It's a case of defense.
And I can't say the same thing. This house has been burglarized when Miss Ogre and I were gone about, it's been a while ago now, about 7 years ago. I don't even want to tell you the number, but we lost quite a bit. Our homeowners insurance covered some, but not others. Mm-hmm. Make a long story short, years ago when we first met, I had a little side thing going to help me whenever I was in school. And I did little fix-it stuff. And I had cordless drills and stuff back in the day. This was about 1991, 92. And I left them locked up in this nice little cabin, nice little place on a lake. I just left them locked up there. When I come back to work the next day, all of my power tools were gone. I actually started working common sense because everything else was there. My tool belt and all my hand tools were there. So I went to get I started to measure for go casing around a door. And you'd had to be there. I just noticed piece by piece common sense that they'd taken everything. My chop saw, everything that had a plug-in or that was a cordless saw, cordless drill. I was so mad about that. But anyway, I've had it happen. I've also been carjacked. And look, does that matter? Does my anecdotal story or your father's anecdotal story matter? No, mine doesn't either. The fact of the matter is, I believe that our Constitution points out that you were born with inalienable rights. The Constitution doesn't give anyone in the United States rights. It just says this is what man is and what he is born with. Yes, I mean she, faggots, if anybody hears this and bummed out about it. It's just the way I've always spoke. And so you have that right too. Why, when they say, why are you carrying a gun? Why would you need a gun? That's irrelevant. It is irrelevant, common sense. You may just like the way it feels in your pocket. I carry it.
See, it doesn't bother me about the fact that people say, oh, why do you want to carry a gun? Why do you want this? Why do you want that? It's a case of, why do you want a car? Why do you want to go to work? Why do you not want to go to work? Why do you want communism? Why do you want this? Why does it matter why you want the thing? If you honestly think that it's good and it doesn't affect anybody, why you're holding it and why you're carrying it and why you're looking after it, then why does it matter what other people want and what other people think? That's the whole point of libertarianism. It's the fact that single individualism is the strongest thing that you can do. If you can protect yourself, you can protect others. It's not a case that we need to clump together and be able to fight a man with a machete. See, I love that statement because so many police, SJWs have always used this as a point. Mentally ill person with a machete was raving around a particular London suburb. And he was running around trying to hack people up, basically. And it took around about 10 police officers to actually do anything about it. So now, don't get me wrong. I know that our police officers don't have guns. So for all of them to turn up for somebody that's crazy and is wielding a big old machete, fair play to them. And I take my hat to them. But at the same time, if they did have a gun, they could have quite easily have quelled the situation a hell of a lot quicker.
Boom, boom,
and I'm not
boom.
saying they should have killed him. I'm not saying they should have killed him, but you could have quite easily shot him in the leg.
Oh, common sense. I love you, brother, but you can't do that. No. There's no there's no self-defense class, no self-defense instructor, no one that ever has worked with a firearm and teaches people to do such, no one that's ever defended themselves with one, be it a combat situation in a war or a domestic combat situation, using a firearm to protect oneself in line of duty or otherwise. Would say, because look, a leg move, it's center mass. You fire for center mass. Right, exactly. Because when someone, because this is the issue, when someone has a knife waving around in public, they forfeit their right to live. They have forfeited that. As soon as they come, face to face with a police officer or anyone else, a citizen with a firearm, it says, put that. I just watched some video of a cop got overpowered by someone, and this was in Florida, overpowered by somebody on the side of the road. Dude was beating him down. Gentleman got out of his car, concealed carry holder, got out of his car, approached the subject, stood about 3 yards away, 3 meters away, pointed a gun at him, said, "Get off the officer, get off the officer." The third time he didn't, he put 5 in his body mass, killed him dead. And of course, no, hail the hero. I just want to reiterate, if you do that, if you come into my house at night while I'm sleeping, you forfeit your right to live. And that would go, I mean, common sense, let's face it, the firearm thing's out of the question for you, but someone comes in your house at night, right? They're creeping. You just happen to have got to take a pee. You come out and there they are. There's somebody right there in your place where you know where every bludgeon, steak knife, and what have you is there, and you killed the person. Would you be in any trouble for that?
Depends on how many times I've stabbed him and how what way I stabbed him. If I stabbed him in the back, then yes, I would be. But if I was able to stab him in the front or the side, then I'd be fine.
So in other words, if there were defensive wounds that killed him. All right, see here, you have the castle law in most places, which means if someone comes in, now don't get me wrong, if they're off your porch and running, I'm not sure that any jury would think it was okay if somebody had their deer rifle and just picked somebody off in the back, 30 yards away from their porch running away. That would be a tough one. Although, look, man, I'm going to get off. I'll get off in the weeds in this because I've read so much about it. Heard so many actual news stories where the facts came out. There was a dude in Texas that told the 911, "There's 2 guys robbing my neighbors. I'm going to go kill them." And he did. He did. He didn't serve a day in jail because it's castle law and you have stand your ground. One guy was armed, and if you're in the commission of a felony, you forfeit your right to live.
Exactly. I wish that we had similar laws to that in our country. So the fact that we would be able to defend ourselves and defend ourselves against criminals.
But common sense guy would
go down. I don't mean going down to the pub and having an argument and shooting somebody in the head because of it. I mean, if somebody breaks into your house, then you can shoot them. I mean, if you see somebody trying to rape a girl, a little girl, for instance, you would be able to shoot them. Something where you actually know that that person's life has a potential to actually either be completely fucked or is going to die. You should have the right to be able to defend that person and yourself. But we don't in our country.
That's just too bad. There's all kinds of problems in the world. I think that the biggest one in my mind right now is Tommy Robinson, man. I mean, it's just 13 months in prison. If I have problems with, say, a gang on the outside and I get in trouble and go to prison, and they know that there's rival gang members in that prison, I can say, "Hey, I fear for my life." Now, I will go to a solitary confinement cell. It'll be a small cell with a toilet right in it. And a bunk and everything right in it. But they would do that. They won't do that for Tommy there. He can't say, "Look, huh?"
I wouldn't have thought they would do that for Tommy. No, you're correct.
Damn, man. That's what I thought you said. I wouldn't have thought. In other words, no, they wouldn't do that.
Yeah. I don't think they'll do that for Tommy. I think they'll put him into either Wandsworth or one of the prisons up in Birmingham. Which is notoriously filled with immigrants and people of particular faith. So I honestly think that's where he'll be going for the 30 months, and I think he'll get roughed up quite a bit if he stays alive. And I don't mean that
Damn,
as a
I can't even.
platitude.
I mean, that feels so surreal to me. I'm not going to doubt you, man. I'm going to say I hope it doesn't happen. But man,
Well,
I mean, holy
you know
shit.
that I always have these type of theories, and I'm not going to be big-headed and say, well, probably around 90% of my theories normally come to fruition. I would say, as a guess and as a theory, I think from 6 to 8 months down the line, we're going to get a news story saying that Robertson's dead.
Son of a bitch.
I honestly
I mean,
do think that.
they'll be the ones to me that would just be like the old days of the British Empire, just executing people that they didn't agree with, because that's
Yep.
what they're doing. That's what happens.
That's what
Well,
this government is doing.
maybe he'll
See,
be
in
able
some
to.
aspects, go on.
No, it's cool. I need to hear what you say. It's not my culture.
I was going to say, in some aspects, I actually do want Jeremy Corbyn to come to fruition and come to power. Now, not because of his communist policies, but maybe he won't be as draconian as what this authoritarian conservative government is trying to be. The fact of we need to try and control everything you say, everything you do. We're now going to put taxes onto internet providers and Facebook users and things like that to make sure that people under the age of 13 don't use the internet, to make sure that people over the age of 13 don't bully anybody. And they're going to find the actual people like Facebook and Twitter and people like that. I wonder why they're censoring everybody. And I wonder why they're trying to do it so it's not the government do it, but it's the public forum that's doing it. All it is killing somebody by hiring a hitman. That's literally what our government is doing.
Yeah.
And that's what they've done in Tommy Robinson's case. Instead of actually just pulling the trigger and killing him dead on the street, they're going to send him to a prison where they know that he's going to get seriously hurt or potential to die. And they're going to throw him in there and lock the key away and go, oh, look what happened. He unfortunately had a really bad accident in the shower and he slipped and he somehow got his head cut off.
I know that he said when he was.
I don't horrible way to Tommy Robinson either. I'm just saying that's what I honestly feel is going to happen. I hope it fucking doesn't. And I absolutely love the guy. I think he's doing a fucking amazing job trying to actually show our country and trying to wake up the people who are in our country to realize that we are in some kind of fucking war. I don't know what type of war it is, but when you've got people that are actually raping and molesting our children and then going to prison not for very long, and then all of them don't seem to go there and some of them get deported instead. Some people go, oh, that's great. They're not in the country anymore. Yeah, that is great. But that means that they're not fucking paying attention. And in fucking 6 weeks' time, they're going to come back in the country again under a different name. It doesn't do any sort of form of justice. This is just the government trying to play to the fucking people that can actually vote for them so they can get people to vote for the government that's in charge. I don't know why the Conservatives are playing into that. They should be playing into the fact that people that are British and English want to make sure that the country stays British and English. And no, I'm talking about civic nationalism, not about white supremacy.
Yeah, we'll just see what happens. Let's see if his white privilege does him any good, because the Sun has this back up, and looks like they've put a few other things. As this footage showed, Mr. Robinson being led to the back of police van. He could be heard shouting to a friend, "Please, George, give me a solicitor. I'm on a suspended sentence." You see. Remember the last one we read, it didn't say anything like that. He just said he had stopped at solicitor. And then, but he said, I'm on a suspended sentence, you see. Allegedly. I mean, that's the quote they're saying. I'd like to hear it. And then the video filmed on a smartphone shows Mr. Robinson, who's wearing a suit jacket, explain what is happening outside the court. I mean, he just, man, son of a bitch. I really, to me, this is so surreal. 35 years old he is. He's just a young man. The idea that they're going to take a year of his life away anyhow is a little ridiculous to boot, let alone that they're going to, I mean, it sounds like try to put him in a position where they can take all of his life away.
It's a possibility, as in a roundabout way, as we just alluded to, the fact that maybe it's a case of hitman. Yeah. And you don't know. They don't know what prison he's going to go to, and you don't know what people are going to be trying to pay other people to do other things, especially when you're in prison.
Oh, it's easy. It's true. Like I said, here you can do that, but you know how long most people last in solitary confinement, and if you're there,
about 2 to 3 months.
Yeah, right. And that's it. I mean, and when you're in there, they don't really punish you. You can have books, and then if you're in prison, you got a little TV and everything. But dude, you're in a 10-by-8 cell with you go a little mad. You start thinking that risking getting murdered is okay if you can just shake some lad's hand on the yard and say hi.
Yeah,
I think we've talked about that before. Hopefully, as you continue your studies, you'll get into it if you haven't already learned about the effects of confinement and stimulus being cut off, whatever that may be, sight, sound. You can go in different sessions. You can cut off sight, then sound together. And I mean, that you can drive somebody crazy with that. Put them in sensory deprivation suits. Doesn't take long. It really doesn't. Oh, that was really off in left field, isn't it? You gave me so much information, Common Sense. I don't know if you want to go, because we probably drove this so far into the ground. I'm just like you. I mean, it's two things that are very important to me. And it's dealing with these rape gangs and Tommy Robinson and his freedom of speech being abridged left and right. The freedom of speech problem in your country. I mean, these are two things that are just striking. It's okay that they rape, but don't you dare point it out. Don't you dare.
Well, as straight if Mouse just said in the chat, it's really bad for Tommy Robinson. It's really, really bad for fucking Tommy. But you've got people like Barron, and yes, I know that some of us don't particularly care. Not say that we don't like, but some of us don't care for certain people. But shouldn't have lost his channel. And there's lots of other people, even people on the left side of politics, that are talking about particular issues that are now being completely struck off. Now, I don't know if it's a campaign against people individually or if it's YouTube itself. I don't know. But it's kind of weird that right and left people are getting completely and utterly demoted from YouTube now. It's fucking weird.
Well, you see the side chat there. Straight Sith Mail says Tommy's in jail. Baring's channel was shut down. I did not know that. And the Kumite died. The last one gave me a laugh. I want to say something, man. Look, I'm going to have to watch the Kumite. Listen, I said it a long time ago that they were never going to last, that the Kumite was going to die, but I wouldn't be happy about it ending. And then here just recently when it was all coming down, I said the same thing. Well, I mean, I might like I might laugh or whatever.
No. The reason why I say that you will like it is because both Failure and Andy Warski go on to Warski Live, and they say that they wanted to have a pleasant ending and everything else like that. The day after everything was supposed to be done as amicable as possible on the last ever Kumite, they then go on Andy Warski's channel yesterday, I believe. And yesterday it was a case of they were throwing Tonka-san straight under the fucking bus, calling him a liar, saying that he doesn't know what he's fucking doing, and saying that he was the one that's always trying to push things and everything else. They completely and utterly threw him under the bus.
Of course, man. Because for one thing, it's good. I think that he was probably the reason that, he just didn't want to do it anymore for whatever reason it was. He just didn't want to do it anymore. Others wanted to continue. So what's the best way to keep it to continue? You just turn right around on the person that was there most recent and you eat them. The failure accomplished, man, I don't know. Get to know him and formulate your own opinion. If I had to be very honest, I would say he is a scallywag. Said it for a while now, for about the last 4 months, that he is the one that starts those things. Then he sits back in the back, common sense, looking at his feet, kicking dirt, saying, "Oh shucks, I didn't do," and then saying, "Hey, can't we all be friends?" And any way he can make problems, he will continue to bring people together, quote unquote, to see what carnage will come. That's the worst kind of scallywag. But I don't know if I'm still not happy. I mean, there's a place for it, that a lot of followers. I'm never happy when something is destroyed or ruined or ends.
No, I am. I mean, I'm not happy that it's destroyed and ruined, but I suppose I'm a little bit happy that it's a case of it absolutely blew up in their faces. The reason why I say that is not because I dislike Andy, because I've never had any problems with Andy. I've never had any problems with Failure either. To be honest, I've never had any problems with Tonka. But it's a case of, from what I've watched, from what I've seen, and from how people seem to operate, it's a case of some people suggest that it's one way, some people suggest it's another. And then once somebody gets one idea in their head that somebody's something, about 20,000 people get the same idea. And that's not the way that you deal with problems that you need to deal with by talking to people. you actually need to talk to them, not call them pedophiles all the fucking time. And it's amazing that one particular person will always go back to that particular insult for everybody.
Yeah. Well, as your people over there are arresting and putting people in what apparently may lead to be a death sentence, over here, young black men are beating old white war heroes to death with hammers, and then given the reason because they're black and they've been oppressed and that their people have been. I just don't. You did give me the story. Do you want to talk about it at all? It's pretty interesting.
No, I think it ties in really well with the second one. But to be fair, the first two quite easily interlink with that one, to be fair.
Yes. This gentleman right here, this is from Sky News, is Jim Booth. He was in the Normandy invasion, people. He survived one of the most unreal. Oh, my goodness. So, man guilty of hammer attack on 96-year-old D-Day veteran Jim Booth. Police say it's a miracle that Jim Booth survived after suffering multiple skull fractures and arm and hand lacerations. This is here. A near monster who attacked D-Day veteran with a claw hammer and left him for dead has been found guilty of attempted murder. Joseph Isaacs, 40, of no fixed address, shouted, "Money, money, money," as he advanced on 96-year-old Lieutenant Commander Jim Booth, hitting him repeatedly over the head in November last year. Isaacs, who is illiterate, was given a 20-year extended sentence. It comprises a 16-year term, of which he'll have to serve 2/3, and a 4-year extension. He began his prolonged and barbaric attack after his offer of cheap building work was turned down. Lieutenant Colonel Booth tried to escape by retreating into his house in Taunton, Somerset, but Isaacs pursued him and continued his cowardly assault. This is a quote from Lieutenant Colonel Booth. He says, "He hit me 6 times on the head as well as more on the arms with a claw hammer, and the claw side of it too," according to Booth. Somerset and Avon Constabulary said it was a miracle the victim survived after suffering multiple skull fractures and lacerations to his head, hands, and arms, adding that he may never fully recover. Isaacs left Lieutenant Colonel Booth for dead on his living room floor so that he could search his home for money and valuables, said Mark Major from the Crown Prosecution Service.
And now remember that this victim, this Lieutenant Booth, sorry, he's a 96-year-old fucking virgin. Yeah, I don't think he's that. He's a 6-year-old veteran.
Veteran. We know what you think about vagina, probably. Go ahead.
He's a 96-year-old fucking veteran. 96 years old. Can you imagine your granddad, your uncle, your dad, even depending on the age of him, trying to defend against a 36 to 38-year-old with a claw hammer? Can you imagine how he would be feeling? Can you imagine
you can see this is
instead?
And I think everybody listening can see that, and watching can see that this is not the black gentleman. I started talking about one in Common Sense. This is the one that he had. It's in this pile. This is just a scumbag, plain old scumbag, whatever color he may be.
Well, Sardonic 7 suggested that he's illiterate. Yes, he is illiterate, but I have a feeling that the reason why Isaacs is illiterate is because he's probably not from this country.
Well, thank you.
Because he might be from Lithuania, Poland, or Russia.
Because he don't have no problem trying to build. Now, it said it was going to be shoddy, that he wasn't a good builder for poor building, but I don't know how they know that. So he was apparently wanting to build something. So I'm with you. They didn't say anything about he was mentally inept. They just said illiterate, which that only means unable to read.
Exactly.
That has nothing to do with anything.
Exactly. But I'm pretty sure that Mr. Isaacs is of a foreign born, or at least of a, shall we say, a migratory status. I would say he's from Lithuania, Poland, or Russia, as I said before.
This is pretty great. Lieutenant Colonel said, worst things have happened at sea, Lieutenant Colonel Booth said, adding, I blame myself because I was special services, you know. He says, I think I should really have known how to deal with this, but I didn't. I was too old, obviously. I mean, I'm laughing because, man, look at this old goat, man. What a guy.
Yeah.
And in the end, he's such a man. He's trying to take responsibility for it. And this had to do something to him. I mean, he did not need to go through this.
Nobody of any age needs to go through.
No kidding.
A fully grown man coming at you with a fucking claw hammer in your own fucking house to nick whatever valuables that you've got. Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of people may have valuables in their house, but if you add it all up, I bet the average person, I am talking about the average person, for the actual valuables that are in your house, I bet it doesn't go over 5 or 6 grand if you could take away everything in the fucking house. And that's what somebody's going to kill you over?
Yeah,
5, 6 grand if they can take everything away.
And this man, what a gentleman. He says, reflecting on his attacker, Lieutenant Colonel Booth said, presumably something terrible happened in his life, and who knows what it was, and it turned him into a near monster. So to that extent, I understand, but obviously I can't understand what he did, frankly, and why. There seems to be no reason why. That's how I am at the moment. What a just stand-up guy. I mean,
definitely a stand-up guy. Definitely a stand-up guy. But I think, unfortunately, due to his age, I think that he's a little bit out of touch. And I do think that the reasons why he's a little bit out of touch on this one is simply because you've just had a man physically attack you with a claw hammer. And I know that it's your generational thing to look on the brighter side of life and stiff up a lip and all that type of jazz. But at this point in time, you shouldn't be trying to do that. You should remember that you're 96 fucking years old, and this person was attacking you to try and get into your house to get money.
Yeah. Well, Judge David Ticehurst said Lieutenant Colonel Booth was an extraordinarily remarkable gentleman who had suffered a brutal and utterly senseless attack. I mean, anybody could have said that, but it's nice to hear from a judge. Hopefully that's the one that's going to try it. In earlier hearings, Isaacs admitted causing grievous bodily harm with intent, aggravated burglary, 6 allegations of fraud, but he denied intending to kill. Oh, I wouldn't buy that. Claiming that he had gone to his house to ask for money for food. Oh, the poor guy. Police said that when they stopped the car Isaacs was driving on the 24th of November, 2 days after the attack, traces of Mr. Booth's blood were on his jeans. And what is that right there?
Sorry,
a sachet, I believe, belonging to Lieutenant Colonel Booth was found in the footwell.
A check.
Oh, a check. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not. See, I'm illiterate. Never know. I might hit you with a hammer. Be careful.
Isaac's across the pond, and you're not going to swim that fucking far to hit me, so I'm safe.
Yeah, and this just goes on. I mean, it's more of the same. Mr. Booth declined the work. He basically said, I don't want you to do any work. So when he declined the work, offered, Isaacs forced his way in, demanded money, and subjected Mr. Booth to a prolonged and barbaric ordeal. He used a claw hammer to strike Mr. Booth repeatedly on the head and body, even hitting him multiple times when he landed on the floor. There's no way he can claim not intending to kill in common sense. I mean, the minute you...
Oh, no, he was definitely trying to kill him. He was definitely trying to kill him. What self-righteous, expecting person would go, yeah, I'm just going to hit you a couple of times so I can nick your Xbox. No, you're trying to kill the person so you can nick as much as possible so that person can't testify against you.
And apparently what he did, I'm glad it's said, because I had in my mind's eye, he was storming the beach in Normandy. It says, Lieutenant Colonel Booth played a key part in the success of the D-Day landings, cleared mines from the Mediterranean Sea once the Second World War was over. So not only did he go and fight on the D-Day landings, but he also was there afterwards picking up, the big old magnetic mines. That's amazing.
He served his country as well. And then with immigration coming in, he's absolutely been attacked on his doorstep just for some money. Well, I've got this video that was sent in by Quinn that is about the actual video that is done by Tommy Robinson himself. So I don't know if you want me to play it or whatever, and we can see it. It's only 3 minutes 39 seconds long. I don't think it would be copyrighted, and if it is, I don't care. People should be able to hear it.
I don't know. What, do you...
Sorry, mate, you kind of roboted. Sorry, mate, you kind of roboted. Do you want me to play it? Did you just drop out? Never mind. Right, I'm going to play this and see if Ogre comes back.
Almost 10,000 people. This is the verdict. So the trials ended, the jury are making their mind up, and this is the verdict. This is the verdict today. So I can see someone. Yeah, mate, yeah. Yeah. You doing right? What's going on here? Yeah, 29 of them on trial. 2 women. Yeah, for grooming 11-year-olds. Well, allegedly. No. Just doing this. Just doing like just doing the media, mate. Just trying to show people who are watching. This is what's happening. This is what the case is. This is how many girls were victims. This is what they've said, and that's what they've done. Yeah, mate. No. Oh, they do it in prison. I know. You've been in there. You just got out. What was it like? Are you gonna?
Sorry about that. Let me just change the settings on that because that was a bit fucking weird.
Ask me.
Michael is going to explain what's going to happen next, right?
Am I being arrested? I am being arrested.
Wasn't a breach of peace.
Of course,
of
course, a breach of peace. I'm being arrested.
But the content of what you're
Can we just say
streaming.
The content of what I'm streaming, I'm being arrested for breach of the peace. I'm being arrested for breach of the peace. You've all watched this. You've all watched this. You've all watched this. You've all watched this. Can you get me a solicitor? Can you get me a solicitor?
Can you just turn off your live feed?
Can you get me a solicitor?
Turn off your live feed, please.
Yeah.
Do you understand what the secretary?
Can you just explain it again?
On suspicion for a breach of the peace.
What does that mean? 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 The content of one streaming. I'm being arrested for breach.
Are you arrested?
I'm being arrested for breach of the peace. You've all watched this.
Oh
You've all watched this. You've all watched this. You've all watched this. Can you get me a solicitor? Can you get me a solicitor?
Can you just turn off
Yes.
your live
Can
feed?
you get me a
Just
solicitor?
turn off your live feed, please.
Yeah.
Do you understand what the secretary?
Can you explain it again?
First on suspicion for a breach of the peace.
What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean?
One question, subject email.
What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean?
I'm told that the police are doing Facebook. Building down.
No, it's all. We've never said that.
George, that's the information I've got.
I'm inciting people.
Are you not still not through his video?
How have I incited
He
you?
hasn't.
This is free speech. This is where we're at. You're not even allowed to. Look at this.
Look how many people.
Tom, what you try and hide? Do you know when you do this?
These are normal working
More people.
Really sharp things are like, just let him do this.
More people are going to watch this now than ever. This is ridiculous, lads. Do you feel right what you're doing it? I haven't said a word. In fact, someone laid their hand and assaulted me outside court.
Yeah,
Other people swore at me and threatened me about my mother, and here I am being arrested for saying nothing.
I'm threatened to behead
I've done
me. You
nothing.
haven't said anything about
What,
it.
are you arresting you for dummy?
Breaching the peace. Apparently, I'm inciting on my video. Can you please, George, get me a solicitor?
Yeah.
Because I'm on a suspended sentence. You see, so
He has actually done nothing wrong.
You can sort anything like that.
All it would take is for you to go through his video and see he's not. He's even said straight out innocent until the proven guilty. It's disgusting, isn't it? I'm one of them.
Right. So that's the end of that. That's the end of that video. And I think you can all see that that's just absolutely fucked. Just absolutely fucked. So, how's everybody actually doing at the minute? What does everybody actually think about that? What does everybody think about that then? And let's go with the chat on that one. What do you actually think about that? Because for me, I think that's absolutely ridiculous. Now watching the actual video in itself, I just can't imagine how somebody would be doing something like that and how it's just gone that way. How you doing, Mr. Ogre?
Yeah, sorry about that, man. I told you they were kicking me on and off. It just went off and came back on.
No problem, mate. Did you were you able to watch that video of Tommy Robinson?
No, I just restarted my router and just sat back down. Did it play?
It did indeed, yes. I was able to sort that out.
Oh, that's cool.
Basically, what's happened was Tommy Robinson was streaming. He was talking to a couple of people. He was telling them that he was there for media points and things like that. Then all of a sudden, he gets arrested. I mean, don't get me wrong. I can see that there's a jump cut, so I know it's been jumped. But I wouldn't have thought that he would be inciting any sort of reasons, which is what they tried to get him on as breach of peace. Oh, so it's a case for him that he's being arrested for breach of peace. You ask him what he's what peace he's breaching, and they say that he's inciting, which is not a breach of peace. It's called incitement. There's actually separate laws on that.
Breach of peace. And I think they can make it up. It's like revving your car in a racial manner. It's up to someone else to say if you're breaching their peace. So that's pretty flexible, I'm sure.
Indeed it is, unfortunately. Indeed it is. Breach of peace in itself is a very, very broad spectrum of what you can actually be put under. As you quite rightly just said, Ogre, you can be revving your car in a racial manner, apparently. You can also actually just be watching and streaming and telling people what's going on in the story. But at the same time, you could then actually be arrested for breaching the peace and telling people what's going on when 29 people, 2 women, were being part of another fucking grooming gang in Leeds. It's just amazing that they would rather arrest Tommy Robinson for actually telling people what's going on and informing the public, which is what the press's job is supposed to fucking be. But yet, he is getting arrested for breach of peace for explaining what's going on, telling the story that matters to him, which is the same as any of us on YouTube do. Whether you be a comic book guy, whether you be a game-selling guy, or whether you be a social political guy, or whether you be a prankster channel. All of us do the stuff that we want to do and the stories that we want to cover. And that's exactly what Tommy Robinson's done today and has been arrested for. What he's just done and what he's actually just been arrested for, breach of peace, any of us in an open environment could be arrested for if it so chose to the government and wanted us to actually be arrested for it. That in itself is an amazingly draconian fucking laws that we're under.
It's a little nerve-wracking to think of, yeah.
Exactly, mate. It is fucking nerve-wracking. It's so fucking nerve-wracking that Orwell wouldn't even fucking have comprehended that it would have happened this fucking quickly. If you think about it, it's only took 10 years for this to fucking happen. The laws have been cut and cut and cut, and yet we're still trying to think and disbelieve ourselves and trying to lead ourselves into this idea that we still have freedom of speech, we still have freedom of expression. No, we fucking don't. Even when we brought it up into, even when Dankler did his petition and he got read in Parliament, all they said was, no, actually, what actually happens is that you do have freedom of expression, just not on everything. Meaning it's fucking limited, which meaning it's not freedom of expression then.
At all.
It's kind of an oxymoron to say that limited speech is freedom of speech. Sorry, yes. I've been taking up a little bit of space, so please you carry on, sir.
No, it's all right. Just kind of listening. I mean, it just hits closer to home for you. I mean, this is something that could happen to you.
Exactly.
It's part of the reason why I don't mind listening and kind of, you know, I wonder how long it's going to be before it's the same way here. And I've heard it from several people. Well, you know, you Americans, you Yanks have to hold out because you'd well, how can we hold out? If the government decides that you can't do something and it's going to enforce something, they have all the guns. And in fact, in your country, we have already talked about, you know, you one down on us here. At least some of us do have weapons. I guess they came stormtrooper style, maybe a few. Anyway,
yeah,
it's all ridiculous. I don't think, I know that a person doesn't need to be governed. We don't need a government. I get a lot of flack for that, for my stance on that. But look what happens when we have one. They always run amok. when they run out of things to legislate, well, they'll make up new things.
Yeah.
And they'll never stop making up new things. It's just, when will the new thing they make up affect you? And this is, it's affected me. Tommy, man. I mean, I'm telling you, I really look up to the guy. Fuck.
See, I make it even worse. See, the thing is, it could quite easily be somebody like Sargon. It could quite easily be somebody like me. It could be somebody like fucking On the Offensive if he was in the country. It could quite easily be any of us who are expressing our opinions about migration, about the fact of passing a story, to actually be able to say, well, this is what happened in Rotherham, this is what happened in Telford, this is what happened in blah, 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 and going outside of a court and streaming about it. But because you have some kind of racial past, remember that the actual terminology of the fucking story. Oh, remember that he's an EDL Foundation member. Remember, he was the one who created
created it. Yes, I was going to say that earlier when you said the mentions there. To say don't forget, creator of the EDL.
Exactly, and then it just goes to show you that the rhetoric that they're now being forced to be able to push in the media to even be able to tell the story. Because I imagine that the Daily Mirror probably went against this actual narrative and probably can't actually produce that story anymore, where the Standard's just gone, well, we'll do it so people know what's going on.
They already won't let me see the link you sent me for Tommy. They already won't let me see it.
What one?
The last one. I don't want to screen share that, but the last one you sent me on Twitter.
Oh, that wasn't it. That was.
Oh, okay. I thought that was my video. All right. Well, both of those are just giving me an exclamation mark. Well, let me see. I thought that was Tommy's, man. It wouldn't have shocked me though, because of course it's hate speech to even mention. I mean, I don't know, man. It's all a joke to me. We're living in an alternate world. I thought things would change, but I always thought, because the 80s and 90s, they were rough. Crime was up. I mean, Alphabet City in New York, it was something else. You could get mugged and robbed down on Times Square, 42nd Street, all kinds of peep shows and prostitution and drugs right there in the city. That's all gone now. I figured it'd be much, much worse by now there. But other things are, much, much worse.
Yeah. The simple fact of actual freedom of speech, and it's coming to your country as well. It's just lucky enough that you actually have a fucking First and Second Amendment. Yes,
I'd like the freedoms, some of the freedoms that Mexico has, as in, that kind of thing is legal there. There's parts, I mean, outside of Laredo Nuevo, there's Boys Town. It's just a huge old prison, about a mile square, where this, anything goes. Prostitution, drugs. Cops never go in there. They have their own security that can take care of any problems that come up. But if you go in there, when you go in there, I mean, you know what you see, you know where you're going. They don't allow that outside of these designated areas. But we're not. The whole idea of freedom, once it starts to be abridged, no matter what the reason, no matter what the noble reckoning is for the abridgment of freedoms, that's a slippery slope. I mean, you're taking people's freedom away. It's one step away from taking something away that affects us. That's all I can keep saying. I sure hope Tommy can give on this. Maybe he can get a good lawyer that can say, listen, we want him to be here, in this place, because it's life won't be in jeopardy here. I don't.
His life's going to be in jeopardy all over the UK. The only way that his life would not be in jeopardy by serving out a prison sentence would be by going somewhere abroad, like Norway or somewhere like that.
Man, they're never going to allow that.
No, of course they're not.
So, man, that's funny too. They're such a peaceful people, but apparently they're the majority of the inmates in your country. Is that the case?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. They are a majority, either being converted inside or are converted before they come in.
I don't think Tommy's going to convert.
No, that's why Tommy will probably not do too well.
Damn. Yep. That's man alive. All I can do is have a bong swat and hope that the best. He should be able to. Maybe someone will be able to. It's all about money in the end. Maybe in his case, not though. Maybe they just won't care. Hopefully something.
I think with Tommy, he's got such a reputation for being the racist, for being that guy that everybody blames everything on. Everything that's got any sort of terminology for racial tension is blamed on Tommy Robinson. He's the provocateur. He's the one who's inciting and has incitement. When anybody even listens to what Tommy Robinson says, anybody even listens to him, he's not inciting anything. He's stating facts and saying that we need to integrate people more, not to have people that have their own communities by themselves. To the fact that where schools are no longer fucking speaking Arabic as their first fucking language, that they're actually speaking English again. There is nothing racist in trying to say that the national language should be spoken in the country that it is in. There's nothing racist about that at all. Can you imagine going to Africa and going, well, I'm English, I want this country to speak fucking English now? Can you imagine how many times that you would be called imperialistic and racist and fucking causing slavery all over again? Can you imagine how many times that people would actually call you that? But yet, because we're white, we're not allowed to be able to say that we want our country to be, talking about English and everything else like that. We're not allowed that anymore.
Son of a bitch. Yeah, well, in the end, it all comes back around, and who knows how long it'll take. But the problem is the pendulum keeps swinging. So when it goes back the other way, it'll be this. I mean, it always seems to be the same thing. It's just who's getting the axe today.
Generally,
yesterday it was the yellow man out west building the railroads here, in the late 1800s, and we've had black people being on the bottom, but it always seems to swing around. I mean, now Oriental people, that's your highest demographic here in our country, and then
including Indians, believe it or not.
That's our second.
Graphics.
That's our second is Indians, as in dot Indians, of course, not feather.
Yes.
Yeah. So and it's just funny how the pendulum swings.
Yep.
We'll see how it goes. The whole idea of white supremacy and white privilege, and we can't say, well, maybe one day our people in the future that are white
descendants
will have the same honest privilege to say, hey, I'm white and I'm so oppressed, you people have to lick my boots now as we have to lick all the boots that are stuck in our face.
Well, that's the thing that we shouldn't even be trying to push for that. It's a case of, okay, yes, fair enough, white people in the past. I mean, I tried to go through this point with Angel Stubsnub. And it's a case of, yes, okay, white people have been generally bastards to most people that they've been in touch with. I will agree with that. But the thing is, if we weren't bastards to some people, then it's a case of a lot of people would not have even been able to come into this century. I remember Barack Obama talking about his dad, the fact that his dad didn't even see anything of the real world and was still living in villages into his later years in life. The fact that his granddad was even worse. The fact that he never even seen a white man before his granddad. And those type of things are a case of, okay, well, we need to move forward. We need to integrate. We need to make sure that people understand what's going on. As we always say on both of our channels, sunlight is the best disinfectant. If you want to try and segregate yourself off, all you're doing is ostracizing yourself from everybody else.
Well,
it's fine for people to say, oh, okay, but we can come out and we can trade. Well, yeah, we can, but we're still going to interact with each other, and we're still going to, in some cases, probably interact in a sexual favor kind of way, because guess what? Prostitution is the fucking oldest form of trade.
Yeah. First profession is what they say.
That's funny. Prostitution. It's just a case of when you get people that go, oh, well, I don't want my daughter going with your son. And it's just a case of, why? What, because they're white and black? What's wrong with that? Yeah, okay, I know a lot of people go, oh, well, that's just wrong and unnatural. There's nothing unnatural about a man loving another woman. There's nothing wrong with that.
Maz is saying pretty much the same thing you were saying. Say they want Tommy. Said Tommy they want gone. And Dank they wanted to make new laws, but
exactly.
There's a lot of people are going with that same mindset that they just want to off old Tommy, man. And what a great guy, what a patriot. I believe that when history looks back, I know this is almost cliche, but I believe this in my heart. History looks back 200-300 years from now, he will be remembered as a patriot, especially if he dies that way, almost be remembered as a martyr.
Well, that's one thing that's different from our fucking country to yours, unfortunately, my friend, and it's a fucking shame it is different. We don't have patriots. We don't have people that we remember for that type of thing. We remember people that tried to blow up Parliament. We remember
he was a patriot
and doing different things, but we don't remember people that actually fought for our freedoms and civil rights.
What about William Wallace?
Well, we don't remember him. We do that as a tale of caution.
But he was a patriot. I mean, you have your patriots, no matter how your history remembers them. So in other words, what you're telling me is that I'm fucked because, yeah, they might remember him as I'm trying to romanticize it, but they'll really remember him like they remember William Wallace.
Yeah, exactly. As a racist fucking bigot, and we killed him. We hung, drawn, and cauterized him.
That sucks, man. It really does. I hope he can hang tough. Maybe he can get a shank together, and when somebody tries to pull something, he can give somebody the old shivving right in the neck, and get one or two of them, and maybe hopefully like send a message to just let me do my thing. Of course, then he'd probably do the next 20 years in there.
Yeah, that's the sad thing of this. Unfortunately, it's a case of a lot of people are condemning him without even looking at anything that's actually happened. You can't arrest somebody for literally doing a live stream outside of a court telling you what's going on. That means that you would have to arrest every single member of the press.
Yeah, you just give us time, man. I'm looking in the background. You got some old pigs behind you trying to wrap you up. Be like, common sense guy, oi, you go into prison, mate. It's out of Wild Blue. It's like, why? You said rape gangs in Telford.
Exactly.
Oi, get up. I'm fucking cuffing you.
Exactly.
I'll capitalize on it. I would try to turn that into more subs and shit.
Well, that's the scariest thing, though, isn't it, mate? It's the fact that it could be me. It could be anybody else that's in our country at all. If we were to start to talking about different things that were going on in our area and different things that were going about in different places and things like that, it would be a case of I'd be going to prison. Especially if they looked at what my political beliefs are and what my political leanings are. Even though I try to censor myself as much as possible to make sure that I don't overstep my mark or overstep my boundary, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, tell you what, mate, I got to wrap it up pretty quick. Mrs. Ogre's going to be coming in here in about 15 minutes and kicking my ass. Got a lot of plants to plant. I am going to take some pictures today. I don't have anything really good to do it with. I'm just going to use my phone for now, but I'll get a GoPro or something. I really want to, because I'd like to share that. It's amazing when you see these spaces that we prepare, pretty large spaces, and there's just these little green things here and there, and then as they fill in, it's something. I just like watching stuff grow, and it's a good time. So hopefully I can share that with y'all. But I got to go make it happen, or there will be nothing growing. Sure was glad to do this today, Friday. It seems to be the old standby no matter what. I like this Friday show. It was a little tough for both of us, I think, today, but we made it.
Yeah, we made it through. I didn't think I'd make it through. I think the anger of Tommy Robinson being arrested and thrown away in prison, possibly losing his life later on, kind of gave me a little bit of more strength to fight for his cause.
Jeez. Yeah, and that's all of these headlines say the same damn thing. English Defense League founder.
I told you.
That's
it hasn't been the foundation. It hasn't been in the EDL for about 5 years.
Yeah. And there's been many people started many things that change, especially in 5 years' time. That could be a completely different organization. And I don't know. It might be the same. It might be exactly what he wanted to be. I don't really care. I know that he is what I would call a patriot. He loves his country.
I'd agree with that. I honestly would agree that he is a patriot. If we were to deal in patriots, then he would definitely be one. But throughout history, whether it be monarchy or parliamentarians, nobody ever wants to create patriots. We create martyrs. But we don't create singular martyrs. We create army martyrs. as in our allied forces beat the Germany and everything else like that. Not the common person, not the common man, not Joe Bloggs down the corner, but the whole allied army. Not the Americans, not the Russians, not anybody or us, whatever. Nothing to do with that. We don't do in one person as our martyrs or as our patriots. It's the group.
Yes.
Yeah, I kind of sat that one out. Do you want to do final words?
Oh, sure. No, I was just laughing also. I was listening to you. I was laughing at something Sardonic 7 said. Just so you know, it's good to have our friends out here, people that we know, wherever they are. I don't know, friends, whatever. It's cyber acquaintances. These folks that float around. Yeah, sure. I need to common sense it because I want to listen to yours too. And I really am going to have to go at the top of the hour hard, like run, go on a run. Well, and my job is going to be relatively easy right now. I'm going to haul a little bit of poo, spread it out, rototill it in, and Mrs. Ogre will be doing the actual planting. I don't know. They're both difficult in their own way, but they both work. So my final word, it's not what I'm really thinking and what's been going through my head that it's all pointless and there's nothing we can do, because it's not the truth. It's how it feels when these things happen. I mean, Tommy Robinson is your English version of a patriot. He's a stand-up guy that loves his country. He does love his race. He does love people that look like him. But I've never seen him display any kind of hatred for people that don't look like him. I have seen him call out Islam in some of their practices, some of the things that they condone, some of the things that are taught to be okay in the Quran that they actually, as I said, practice in real life that affect his countrymen. Heck, it affects them. So I would say that in his own way, Tommy loves the Muslim more than anybody. He would like to see them improve. He would like to see them join in to that wonderful warm embrace of Britannia, man. It's one of the greatest lights of civilization the world has ever known. Let's do what we can do to not allow it to be stuffed out. I love to see the hashtag Free Tommies. Let's all do our part. It may be hashtag Free Tommy, write a little article for Proactive Patriots. Go read Proactive Patriots, support them too, folks, any way you can. Tell people about them. Who knows what it may be, but let's do our part to make sure that it's not hopeless, that freedom will go on. Be good to your friends and family members, folks. Before you know it, they'll be gone.
Thank you very much for that, Hugo. Cheers. I don't really have too much to say, believe it or not, because I've kind of let myself go in the actual chat itself or the actual show. I have a lot more to say on the Tommy Robinson issue. I have a hell of a lot more to say. But at the same time, it's a case of I don't think the show is going to be long enough for me to be able to do that. So I'm going to try and leave off. I might do a rant video at some point next week, probably Monday or Tuesday. So I'll probably do a video about that and try and get a little bit more out there. I know a couple of people have made a little bit of videos for it as well. I know our Irate Bear has done that. It really does scare me. The fact that people that all they're doing is just seeing their normal jobs and just trying to be paparazzi or media or reporting the news, and literally their freedom of press, their freedom of expression is being taken because of how some societies have dubbed certain people. And people like Tommy Robinson have been dubbed this racist, bigoted race baiter. He's the one who's going to start a race war or anything else like that. But yet, all Tommy Robinson was actually doing is reporting on court issues. The fact that 29 people in Leeds were actually have been arrested, are going to court, going through the trial to find out if they were actually involved in a paedophile ring, basically, in a grooming gang. And yet he gets arrested for streaming against it because they classify that as fucking inciting race hatred. You mean reporting the news that nobody else will fucking report? Reporting the news that is actually affecting our little girls, that is actually affecting women in general, And again, not a feminist in fucking sight trying to defend these little girls. Not a feminist in fucking sight trying to defend these women that have been horribly and brutally raped and passed around like fucking cigarettes for fucking favors. Not a feminist in sight. Why? Why is that? It's because it goes against their narrative of trying to protect the Muslims or trying to protect brown people. Well, surely you can use the hashtag not all that everybody seems to be so fucking fond of. Maybe you can do that and actually, you know, explain that some things happen and something. That's the point, isn't it? Because then once you start doing that, when we say, well, that's not everybody, it destroys your narrative of racism. It destroys your narrative of patriarchy. Because then we can say, well, you said not all, so we can use not all. It completely and utterly deflates their argument. I think that is the biggest fault of feminism in itself and people that are on the left that want to do this race baiting. Because let's be honest, generally it's not the actual people that are actually racist that are doing the race baiting. It's people that are calling normal people racist. And I think with that, I think I'll leave that there. But just one other thing that I was going to happen on Monday, I will be doing a debate with Owen MacDonald, I believe. And that will be at 11:30 on Mr. Owen MacDonald's channel. And that will be obviously capitalism versus socialism. So hopefully it should be a half-decent debate. He's quite eloquent in the way that he speaks. And yes, I did actually only find Owen's channel through 40 ounce. I thought that 40 did okay. It's just a case of, I think he was lured in by his personality, by his falsehood of being friendly to him, should we say. So I thought I'd give it a crack and see how that goes. So yeah, with that being said, I bid you farewell. I bid you adieu, and I'll see you.